Hi, everyone. We didn't do an emergency pod this time. Typically, when you do an emergency pod, it's because something crazy has happened, and it might be very, very good or very, very bad, and you're passionately caring about it. And then you have to talk about it. This was kind of like, okay, less of an urgency.
Yeah.
But
Does it
here
also
we
just
are.
seem like the whole Thursday, Friday LCS news gets dropped a few days after the games? You know, it's like, well, I guess we might as well wait to talk about it on our regular scheduled show. Right?
I know.
To a degree.
At this point, I mean, look, it was so ugly and so bad that I think everybody just wanted to distance themselves from it, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
at some point,
if
though,
ever there was a week to provide air cover to a change, that was it. Oh.
yeah, that was definitely it. So we're here. At some point, you got to talk about it. We're here.
Yep.
For you and for ourselves. We're here. Quick shout out to Juvie for the blue raspberry Juvie coming out today. I'm ripping my blue hat in celebration and drinking not the right flavor because I don't have it yet.
Wouldn't that be something? I'm wearing a blue shirt.
There you go. We're all celebrating here. I actually, honestly, really want to try it. I heard it tastes like the 7-Eleven blue raspberry slushy, and that works for me. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. If you're gonna ape a flavor.
I'm not, I'm not all hoity-toity about my flavors.
No.
7-Eleven slushy,
I mean,
bring it on.
you have given a harsh review to an unworthy drink in the past.
Unworthy. Yes. But I'm not convinced Juvie's going to be unworthy. I'm actually going in the opposite direction.
No, it's very worthy, but it doesn't mean they can do no wrong.
Mm-hmm. We shall see. We shall see. Shout out also to Elgato, Rip It, the Huge. Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
All right. We're not gonna spend much time talking about the games. Actually, let's do this instead, Jordan.
We said that last week too.
Yeah, we kind of did.
Yeah.
Departure from our plan. Let's spend exactly as much time talking about the games as the games themselves took.
Ooh.
You got about 3 sentences.
Okay. My guess is this section ends before I get to my point. Is that the idea?
Yeah. You'll get cut off dramatically.
Yeah.
You can't say we didn't try to pick something weird, right? Aurelion Sol in the mid. Oh, that's that OP pick that everybody's been talking about. A couple people bold enough to pull it out.
They left it open. Joke's on them.
Joke's on them. Wait until it scales. The only way A-Sol loses is, if the game doesn't make it past the 20-minute mark. Oh, that one hurt. Oh, gosh. So I think I won't know exactly what it is. I think it goes down as like the second or third shortest game that we've played. I think IG, I want to say, in 2018 Worlds took us out under the 20-minute mark, if memory serves. But if it's not, if it's not the second or third fastest, it's certainly one of them.
Do you think?
Excuse me.
Do you think that there's a team or somebody at Riot who gets the equivalent of a Google alert every time a competitive game anywhere? I'm talking ladder, I'm talking bronze, anywhere ends it around that under 21 minutes, 22 minutes, whatever it was. I think they get like a notification on their phone.
They have the red phone in the room rings, and Mark Merrill comes.
Yeah, it just starts ringing. They're gone. They've left for the day. But think about this: turret plates slow the game down, right?
Yeah.
It's Soul. Like a lot of your power is now gated after that 4th dragon.
Sure.
What's the fastest Soul you can even get? It's like 5
turns out
minutes
it's Aurelion Sol in the opposite direction.
So yeah, like all these things they put in the game to try to make it a little bit, more measured. Nah, we don't need those.
Yeah. Well, the good news is those quick rapid fire everything goes wrong losses are few and far between. They're very rare.
Mhm.
You would never see them back to back. Oh,
Oh, jeez.
dang,
Oh, dude.
CLG game
Oh.
also very rough. Uh, and this one, I mean, look, do you agree with me? It hurts a little bit more to lose like that to CLG. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. They're the layers of misery here they're compounding.
Yeah.
I'll just say this, Cole. I'm just gonna say one sentence. You said I get 3 sentences. Here's one of my 3. Lee Sin, 0-4-1. Just gonna end it there. How do you feel as a
Uh,
human being?
Okay. I was gonna say, what's my frame of reference? As a human being, I feel cheated. I feel cheated
Yeah.
because
Ah,
Lee Sin was a pick that we were like, if closer can kind of get back to the old ways, back in the days, his Acura days,
mm,
we thought the Lee Sin pick might be the one, right?
yeah,
And uh, it didn't turn out to be the case. He hasn't played Lee Sin since it actually like really far back. Really
yeah.
far back. It's been a minute since someone was bold enough to let him play Lee Sin. And 0-4-1, not exactly what you're expecting from him. Bjergsen Gragas, weird, right? Super weird.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But at least, Gragas Lee Sin should be able to get some things
We've
done.
seen actually, now I think about it, that's not the first time we've seen Bjergsen Gragas. This,
Is it really? Man, I can't even remember
yeah.
these
He did it once
bells.
before, or actually,
No, I don't
look,
think he did. I
what
think
I'm remembering is
Tenacity played, didn't he?
there was a Gragas play in the mid lane that was actually pretty good back from our winning days. But maybe that was jungle? Do we have Gragas jungle?
We had
I'm
Gragas
just saying
top.
every pronunciation of Gragas, by the way, just to make
Gragas. We had Gragas. Maybe that's what you're
I
thinking
don't
of.
know. I don't know who played it. I didn't particularly care for this iteration.
Yeah, Tenacity played it
Regardless
in
of
a
who
loss
played
to EG earlier this split. But
it. Okay.
so yeah, that was surprising. Lee Sin, we didn't look Olaf on Tenacity too. I was like, oh, let's go. You know, give a couple of like, let's control the game picks. Double Lift got his Caitlyn. We had Caitlyn Lux in the bot lane.
Kalen Lux. What a lane that is. You can't lose that lane.
And we
Ooh,
just, I
look
mean,
out.
only a fool would pick Aurelion Sol mid, right? Didn't we prove that in the day
Mhm.
before this game?
Doesn't work. It only works if you hit 35 minutes. It never does anything before then.
Well, yeah, true. Turns out.
Sick.
And this one hurts more because it was basically like our academy team, our former academy team that we lost to.
I know.
It's like, hey, these are the guys we did not go with for the long
Mhm.
term. And they
Yeah, these are the guys who we said, you know what? I'm looking at my crystal ball here. They're going to change the name of academy to Salt League, and then we're going to have these 2 players who are going to be so good that we're willing to take a pass. We're going to take a pass on these players. We're feeling very optimistic about the future. And it's kind of fitting in a way, right? That this is the game that in my mind, it's the nail in the coffin of that last roster iteration. That's
yeah.
the last game that last roster iteration played, and the defeat came via those players who we passed on. Man, ouch. That's I never liked to. I felt good. I always felt like CLG was kind of a litmus test for us for any
Yes,
roster.
exactly. Yeah.
You just can't lose to the ones you let go.
Hmm.
Uh,
And that bore out pretty well. Like we didn't win
yeah,
every game against them, but we won. I think we won all but 2, maybe.
yeah. The majority, the vast majority of them went our way. We just got double round robin whooped by these dudes. It was they completed the double round robin whooping. Do you remember when we used to talk about trying to have to think of a special award. We're gonna create a new award just for tenacity, getting solo kills on everybody. That was a genuine thought in my head.
It seems like yesterday.
It doesn't seem that long ago. Were we young and naive? Were we?
Yeah, you've grown a whole beard since then.
I know. I think I even had some beard at that time. I swear to you, it was like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, how many games have we lost in a row?
I don't know about in a row. I believe that is what we've won one of our last 8, I think is how it shakes out.
Well,
Something like
in
that.
this era of the LCS, Cole.
Yeah, we
Yes,
beat Team Liquid.
Yeah. The other
sucks to be you, Team Liquid.
Have they announced that they're starting over? They tried that yet?
Yeah, maybe they'll copy us yet again and do that.
Thanks. Hey Max, 2-game loss streak, 1-7 last 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And guess you know the last team we beat before Team Liquid, don't you?
EG.
It was Team Liquid.
Oh yeah, we didn't beat EG, did we?
No, I'm sorry. I'm coughing. By the way, everybody, sorry.
Okay, man.
But the last team we beat was Team Liquid. We said, wait, hold on. We're not gonna lose this one. We're cool losing all the others, not Team Liquid.
So we're tied with TL at 5.
I think they're ahead of us, aren't they?
I think they're 5 and 8.
Okay, let me check standings. Yeah, tied for 7th place. They want to be us so bad, dude. Oh my god.
What, two almost
even following us to 7th place.
Almost half of our wins this split are against TL.
That's a great statistic.
Can we swap out a game? At this point, I'd be willing to swap out Immortals for another Liquid.
Yeah, just put Liquid on the schedule for next week.
I'm kind of terrified that if we manage to lose to Immortals, we just have to. It's not even we don't sell the spot.
Oh, let's not go there yet.
We just forfeit it. The Immortals clause. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I have heard of it. It's like the LCS version of Monopoly. You know,
it is.
If they beat you, they take everything. It's like not only are you out of the game, but everything that once belonged to you belongs to them. It's their only way to get above 9th place.
They get, what do we call in the Cash App compound nowadays? They get the compound.
I don't know. We'll have to wait until they announce our fintech startup that we're doing.
The Robinhood. Remember when people were excited about Robinhood? Turns out those guys weren't immediately criminal. Although they did get into crypto, I think.
All right.
It's a matter of time. Anyhow.
We're getting loose here. All right. Sorry, guys. I want it to be clear. We didn't mean about 95% of the things we just said. Okay. Back on target now. Bad losses. Okay. So then the announcement came through yesterday that Kaas, the head coach, the short-lived head coach, is out, and that Nukeduck would be stepping up.
I'm sorry to continue to do this. Did we actually figure out if that's how you pronounce his name?
We didn't. He wasn't around long enough for us to figure out how to pronounce his name.
Dang it, man! I wish it weren't so. Look, this thought did cross my mind. You can't help but feel bad for this guy.
Yeah, no,
because I'm guessing he's fully uprooted his life, moved to LA. Like look. Of course, we don't want to see this happen to the team that we like.
Right.
You never hope to see that for anybody. So it's tough. It's a tough situation. All joking aside, like, yeah, obviously you feel bad for the people who are, you know, there will be fallout from low performing sports teams. Happens across the spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's a bummer to see. So best of luck to him.
Yep. So no ill will there. Honestly, and this is a good place to start, I think, with this. Because honestly, and I'm not asking this rhetorically. I'm asking this actually as a question for you to answer.
Yeah.
Is it his fault? Like how much of this is Kaas? How much of this is scapegoat? what's your take on this situation? I'm honestly, it's not like we have a whole lot of information to go off.
No, we sure don't.
In
We sure
fact,
don't.
because of that specifically, we should probably read the text of the statement since that's like the only thing we have to go off of, right? So
Yeah.
this is the full text. We've made the decision to change our LCS head coach. Assistant coach Nukeduck has been promoted to interim LCS head coach, and Dan has been moved up from NACL to LCS to assist the team. We'd like to thank Kaas for his contributions to 100 Thieves League of Legends and wish him the best moving forward. So, virtually no explanation or context there. Now, there was, however, a couple of posts in the Reddit, one by Ron, one by John Robinson. Ron is the same thing. One by Jungle Juice. I'll read John's first because his came chronologically before what Jungle Juice said. So John said, "We're not giving up on this split. The players are committed, and this roster has high expectations for themselves individually and as a group. We all saw we weren't meeting our potential, so needed to make a change. Excited to see the new coaches get to work and make a push over the next few weeks." Okay, so main points from that. Not giving up on this split. Players are, committed to expecting more from themselves individually and as a group. And then he says new coaches get to work. So I guess they have, I know it's Dan's coming up to help with Nukeduck. So I don't know if they're going to keep doing that for a while or not. But then Jungle Juice said after that, while recent results are disappointing, these changes are being made due to the reflection and process of how we were performing as a team. There was a clear need for a change in, it says, there was a clear need for a change in direction. And I'm glad Nukeduck was ready and willing to step up. We're committed towards striving to perform in a standard the players, the org, and fans want to be proud of. Okay, so, this is going for the like, hey, we're trying here. This isn't like phoning it in. We expect to do well, and because we're not doing well, we're making a change. That's what we're being given as lines from John and Jungle Juice. So how does that hit you? How does that tie in with Kaas, etc.?
Yeah. I'm trying to actually think. Head coach changes. We've never done a mid-season head coach change, have we? I'm trying to think.
I don't believe so. Off the top of my head, I don't believe so. No, coach. Certainly done roster.
I mean, I think it's always like the one that we're used to, right? And the one that's most common is player swaps. And I almost feel like we could just kind of run back what we always say there, which is like, look, you're never going to have the full story. No matter how badly you want it or feel like you're owed it, you're never going to have the full story. At best, you can put together, based on the pieces you have, what likely happened. But you shouldn't expect for an org or the person involved to come out and say, here's exactly what happened. Just to, I know you're all wondering. And I did, in fact, swear at everyone and then slam my fists on the table and walk out. And that's why they fired me. So you're just not going to hear that.
From a first-hand source, right, LS?
Yeah. I mean, as an example. So I think that the challenging thing is you have even less of a chance at understanding what happened with the head coach, right?
Yeah.
Because they are even less. I mean, if you want to know how a player is doing, watch the game. If you want to know how a head coach is doing, I mean, even draft people say, yeah, just
the practices. Wait.
What? Yeah, check the scrim tapes that we all get. Like I think it's easy to point to draft and say, oh yeah, well look at the draft. What is this guy doing? But as we've learned over the years, there are many things that get factored into a draft that aren't necessarily the coach, right? Players who refuse to or aren't able to play champions gets factored in. And I think it'd be really unwise to like change your coaches based on that. Like that's not a long-term recipe for success. So even the things that seem apparent from draft, I don't think you can't fully count on being a reflection of the coach's capabilities. That being said, Um, I mean, I think it's worth looking at, and I think that's one of the things you wanted to talk about, right? But like, how much can we really look at it? So I guess to summarize my point here, it's I don't feel like this is so obviously the move, other than the fact that I don't think there's a lot of other obvious moves. And maybe I'll just go through it really quickly. I don't think you can change boost your tenacity for obvious reasons. Um, Closer, and honestly, the obvious reason being one, they've put a lot of kind of excitement and the org's future on these guys. So I think it's too quick to make a change there. And I just don't think that you have anything close to being a, a, a viable backup in academy, right? It's just not.
Challengers, sorry, Cubby.
Sorry, challenger. It's just not ready, right? That's too quick. Closer, I think you again, like he's too good. So the question then comes down to Doublelift and Bjergsen in my mind. And maybe there's something to be said there for Doublelift. Bjergsen is just the continuation of a 4 to 5 seasons long conversation about mid lane that we've had 100,000 times. So
It's the 100 Thieves mid lane curse. There's just
honestly,
no other way around it. So
there is not.
it's really unfortunate. I mean, when you sign Bjergsen to a contract, you don't know if you're getting like, Tom Brady first Tampa Bay year or another Tom Brady, right? Like, at some point it's got to come to an end.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I think a lot of people raise this point. In fact, we'll talk about it when we do listener questions and takes. We'll go through this, I'm sure, extensively. And I think there are a couple people saying it in chat right now. But coaches, when you have a lot of established personality players, coaches tend to be first on the chopping block, right? Whether it's Team Liquid choosing Alfari over Jat, or it's like if you have like tremendous talent, that's something that you build around. For
Right.
us, it's a weird position because the top level talent on our team is in a position where you don't know what the ceiling is, because the ceiling is like it could have fallen because they're older, right?
Yeah.
We don't know how many years they're able to keep up that incredible level of performance. So
Right.
you just don't know. It's not the same as like you have like a prime LeBron on your team,
Right.
and you have to like just go with that, because these players are, past the prime, as much as they will hate hearing that if they were ever to listen to this, which they would never. But the thing is, it's like coaches are in a rough position. Kaas didn't really have much of a established with 100 Thieves tenure, right? He's been successful elsewhere. Yep. And I don't know. It's just like, what do you do? I think like clearly you need some change. What happens in this situation, the only thing you can point to that happens is that everybody gets talked to, right? They're gonna ask the players what they think. They're gonna ask Jungle Juice what he thinks. They're gonna ask the other coaches what they think, right? They're gonna ask everybody. They're gonna take everybody's temperature. What's the problem? What do you guys think, is going to help get around this problem? I don't know. The players probably were at some level pointing to like the systems, like, hey, I don't feel like we're getting better, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Bjergsen said that they were playing comps that they didn't know how to play, and it kind of seems like they continue to play those comps, right? I think someone made that point in the in listener takes. It's just like it's improvement really isn't there with what they're playing, and they only really know how to play one thing anyway. So
Right.
there is an argument to be made for like, well, we're not being taught like how to execute these comps, or we're not having things drafted for us that really like going to put us in a position to succeed. So I don't know. Like I doubt it was like Jungle Juice goes to Bjergsen and is like, hey, dude, what change do you think we make? He's like, oh, get Kaas out of here. Like, it's probably not that. I know how many people,
Right.
talk about Bjergsen having like kind of like a coach's desire, right? Like he wants to like kind of dictate the way things go because of the veteran player that he is and his track record. I don't know how true that is. None of us do. We don't know what it's like behind the scenes because there's nothing telling us what it's like behind the scenes right now.
True.
But so I don't think it's as overt as, hey, we asked the players and the players all said Kaas needs to go. They probably are pointing to the problems that they have and they seem related to, things that the coach would handle. So
right.
It's unfortunate because I do think to some degree that will probably be scapegoating on Kaas, but I on some level too, he's got to be accountable for the performance. Like we all would agree, right, that the coach is one of the one of the people who should be most accountable for the results of the team. So it's not like there's zero connection to how that's going.
Right.
Kaas actually, now that I think about it, he said something on the way out. He said 100 Thieves management envisioned certain values for the head coach position, and they didn't end up matching with me. That, combined with recent results, made their decision. So that's Kaas's own words on the situation. Certain values for the head coach position and a bad track record. So, yeah. Another thing it could be is I think was this little Indian man, I was pointing this out in chat, who said, where is it? The type of coach you need for this is like a Reaper, Kane, or Cold type individual, people who are able to manage personalities really well. Okay, so, and that's kind of like the difference between, like Phil Jackson and I don't know, name your NBA coach who didn't
Eric Spoelstra.
Thibodeau. No, Spoelstra is a good personality manager.
No,
Tibbs.
I was trying to give you more examples.
Yeah, Coach Tibbs. He, not a personality manager, right?
David Shinar coming up with the same example.
No, he's
I think your point's a great one, right? Like there are some coaches, you might look at a coach like Eric Spoelstra, and I'll keep this traditional sports aside brief, I promise, and think like, who is he to manage a team of the greatest players, of the modern era? Oh, he's a great personality manager. Clearly, like that's who he is. But you look at him, you're like, well, this guy, I don't think he has the chops. Probably he's about as old as they are.
We're going too in on this specific example because, I just think it's interesting. It's not like he's the best player management person, but he's good. But yeah, it's just something where there is a certain skill that you have to deal with personalities like that. That is very likely in play, right? Very likely in play.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean, that's probably what I'm going to lean towards when I'm interpreting Kaas's own words on the situation. But again, that's speculation. We're probably never going to know.
That is a really interesting point, though, that you bring up, and one that I'm willing to take as the most likely thing to have happened at this point, given what we know, what we've heard, not a lot, and just kind of what we can piece together about the type of team this is.
I mean, can we all agree that when we watched this team, it felt directionless for the past few weeks? It's felt like they don't know what they're doing. We don't know what they're trying. And someone, who was it, Dokla? Somebody on CLG, I think, said 100 Thieves felt like the most disjointed team they'd ever played or something like that. It's there it is right there, and Dokla's played his share of teams. He's had a very long career.
He's played Dignitas twice. Split.
So, you do look top down for a direction and a style, and IGL is going to play into that as well. But, that's definitely got to come from above. So there's always going to be this tension, and this will be unresolved for this event, for this, specific change. It's going to be unresolved forever. But the fact is, there are a couple of very large personalities on the team that are experienced veterans.
Mhm.
Those personalities probably are pretty tough to handle when things aren't going pretty well. And I think some amount of this is going to be connected to that, for better or for worse. And Kaas, is the one that got chosen in this situation. So
Yeah. Are we going to talk about? We brought up a couple of times. You mentioned like communication and that we've just not heard a lot. Are we going to
mhm.
talk about that in this? Or are we going to save it for listener takes?
There is a really good listener take listener take about that. I'm so sorry. I'm still coughing after all these weeks. Let's wait on it. I just read through it
Okay.
again. Let's wait on it.
Yep.
But anyway, so all of this is kind of like our explanation or our understanding or our speculation, I should say, of why we're changing the coach and not the players, right?
Mhm.
I think like if there was zero context around who the players were, I think a lot of people would make very compelling cases for various roster moves. Like, hey,
Mhm.
like this support thing is not working out, or hey,
Right.
the mid laner is not doing anything for, most of the game. Or hey, this jungler seems to be, not successful at the things he's trying, right?
Right.
Context changes the way that conversation feels, right? And I think that context, it outweighs whatever context Kaas has in this situation, right? It's like, I think that's why we're dealing with a coaching change and not the players. Not to mention, it's hard to pick up players and drop them in. It's probably a little easier to pick up a coach and drop him in, or to
Right.
promote,
Yeah.
the underlings. But Nukeduck, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, isn't this his first coaching job?
I think so. Yeah. I
So
think. I mean,
we're
I
throwing
believe
him
he's
in
a
the deep
player.
end.
Yeah.
So anything that happens here is probably just, we're just crossing our fingers and hoping for the best with
Yeah. I
Nukeduck
mean,
doing that.
you
I mean,
really.
I assumed just as the players were asked what was going on, I assume the players were asked about Nukeduck too and being like, hey,
Yeah.
are you cool with him stepping up? And so I think the players probably are expressing some degree of faith in trying out Nukeduck. So, but
Yeah.
I just don't know. It's not a good situation,
Hmm.
and there are no great, options here.
Yep.
So,
Yep. I think best case scenario, Nukeduck is the. It's kind of like the player's coach, right? Like he's more recently a player.
yeah.
And look, I don't have deep background knowledge about these guys' history. I'm not going to pretend I do, but I know he's been a player recently, and I think sometimes you can get that where, um, maybe he's had experience playing with other players like these guys and knows how they work and what resonates with them and what doesn't. I think best case scenario is he can just kind of set them up and get out of the way. Um, and
That's what he's going to
so
have to do,
fingers crossed.
unfortunately.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and
He's
so,
not. He's not being. This is the equivalent of a challenger player being swapped in the middle of the split and then expecting them to do brilliant. Like you can expect that or hope it, but that doesn't make it more likely to happen. It's just very hard to do, and I think the same holds for a coach.
yeah, I think like given the roster composition for us, that context I was talking about, you saying him getting in there and being largely hands off with the team,
Mhm.
that's I think that's like a short term solution to get the best out of the current project, right? So it's like I
Yeah.
don't think it's like the ideal play for the long haul, but that's probably what's going to get the best immediate results. And newsflash, unfortunately, I just used the Troll Withers tweet. Newsflash, buddy. Unfortunately, immediate results are kind of necessary right now
Mhm.
because we are currently sitting in the last spots in for playoffs, and that could be pretty bad.
Could be very bad. We're
So
2 games ahead of Dig Immortals, who I've made so many jokes about at this point that
kind of out of them at this point. It's
I
getting
mean,
a
I
little
think
scary.
if they make playoffs over the team that I like, Cole, I don't know what happens to me.
Yeah.
I think there's some consequences for that. I'm not sure what they are, but
Oh, dude, I totally forgot. And thanks to Genjoy for pointing this out. I forgot. In spring, only top 6 make it. That format change happened. So,
uh,
so we have TSM ahead of us at 6 and 7, tied for Team Liquid. So actually, we're on the outside looking in at the moment. I totally forgot about that.
So, oh my.
Yeah. So all the more reason, right, where immediate results are going to be necessary in this situation. So, holy cow.
Goodness gracious.
Now,
So all that stuff we said. Suddenly, Nukeduck now, he has 2 weeks, Cole, to turn the ship around. Because we just discovered that there are 2 weeks left in the split.
we did. We did. There's not a
That's
lot of
the
time.
other thing we just learned. This is insane.
Yeah. But there is a message to be had here knowing that, right? Like they said, John and Jungle Juice were saying, you know, we expect a lot, and so we're not giving up, basically. And I think the actions match that, right? It's like, hey, you don't do this if you're just like, we'll fix it for summer, right? You're trying to move now and solve things so that we can be in a better position. This is not like, I think making the spring playoffs is kind of like the lower end of the this was a success, you know, or like this was okay at least.
Yeah.
So they care about it. It looks to me like they care about it. And even if you want to think about just that extra time preparing for summer, even, you know, they care about that too. Do you think they're gonna just move in a whole new coach for summer, or do you think they're gonna stay with Nukeduck or whatever? They called it interim.
Yeah, they called it interim. I mean, he'll receive another promotion to permanent head coach if he does great. I think there's no reason to doubt that.
Yeah.
I fully expect that they'll make that call based on how it goes. As we've talked about, the coaching carousel in the LCS just isn't that. There are not that many circus animals on it. Like you don't have a ton of options when it comes to which great coach do you want now. So I don't know that I'd say there's going to be a lot of clear upgrades. It depends on how it goes, right? And the goofy thing is, we could make playoffs and it could still go poorly, right? Like we could have that measure of success, and behind the scenes, it could just be the same level of dysfunction, which would necessitate them finding somebody else to be the coach. So hard to say, but I think there's room for him to be the coach for summer.
There's room for a lot of things in the summer, I think. Especially if things don't improve pretty dramatically soon. So yeah, maybe that will be partially an indicator of how the management is thinking about the young guys. So, are we going to double down on the development project of Busio and Tenacity or not? You know, there may be that. I think. Go ahead.
I was going to dive into a little bit, kind of on the development side.
Sure.
But it's really just more. I don't think we've talked about this as much, and this, I think people should feel free to dismiss this. As I've reflected on this, it's probably not an overreaction to call this like, I don't know. Are we ready to call this catastrophic? Like, it feels
without a bounce back. Yeah, this is pretty catastrophic.
it feels about as bad. Honestly, feels about as bad as I think you could have projected, which is so weird because we started off how much. But I mean, just think about it, right? Early on, we were like Cadril was, who I really like. I like Cadril a lot. He was making content about us. He was staying up late. They said this wouldn't happen. He was staying up late to catch the LCS games so he could do content. So it was interesting. And it was us versus FlyQuest. He was, he's like, wow, these guys are looking good. Double lift pop-offs. Like, he was doing content. I don't think he's doing content anymore. I haven't checked in a while because I personally am not super interested in content about the team right now.
Yeah.
So like, we were doing really well. It feels to me, honestly, like there are several instances where I'd say sub 20 HP is what's flipped certain situations, certain games. And I think the thing that interests me is how much has that just completely flipped our season and like the direction that this thing has gone. So let me just cast your mind back. It's week 1, day 1.
My favorite thing
We're
to do,
fighting Fudge on
remember better
Cassante.
times.
Yeah. Like, what if that fight goes Tenacity's way?
Yeah.
That game might have gone to us, right? It's hard to say. Obviously, you don't know what happens, but like that could have been the start of a snowball. It's not crazy to think that could have been ours. Um, they're the Annie Pixel, right? Like
Oh, yep.
they're just, and that was FlyQuest.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very high quality win in our book. The EG Baron for Nexus. Like there are a few moments that have become.
This is
And
really
you don't need
like
to
causing me like an infarction.
physical pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and, and then even like I can't think of others right now, but I know they're there where it's been so close to us having not just like we were so close to getting that consolation
Oh my
kill.
gosh, dude.
Like these are big moments that could swing an entire game. And like if we are Cole, if we're not 5-8, but if let's say we're 8-5 with wins against EG, Cloud9, and FlyQuest, we aren't having this conversation right now. I promise you, we're not having this conversation. It kind of comes down. It's a game of inches, Cole. It's a game of Teemos, Teemo units, whatever that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but here's the second part of that, right? It's easy enough to say, oh yes, what if? Don't forget, we're playing with a couple of people who have played. This is what we are now who've played 13 professional games of League of Legends, and this is their experience, right? Do we look meaningfully different if these guys are riding high on wins over the unkillable FlyQuest, the defending champions Cloud9? Like, again, I think it's easy to kind of write that off and just say, yeah, but think about it. Think about your own life. Like the moments you
all
do
of my
something.
failures that could have gone a different way. Jordan really
No, I'm
is
talking
like
about.
harrowing my soul right now.
I'm talking about like the moments that you have as a gamer, Cole, and audience, where you reflect with pride on an accomplishment you've had. Like it's so easy for us to just be like, it's just one game. It's just, but like at this point, if you are Boosie or Tenacity, and on your resume you can write that you've beaten C9 FlyQuest. By the way, 1, 2, 3 teams
This
on the table
FlyQuest,
right
yeah.
now. Yeah, then that's a source of great pride. Eventually, you kind of get tired of the grind where like guess what we're not seeing anymore? Content. We're not seeing people talking, like we're not seeing the double lift this is fun and kind of zany reviews. Unless YouTube just stopped recommending to me, but I don't think they're there. So yeah, like it feels, I can't shake this feeling. It could have all been so different. It could have all gone a different way. But it didn't.
So, to put this differently, if a butterfly flaps its wings in the forest, does 100 Thieves still lose to C9 in 20 minutes?
I don't think they do, man. Guess we just need that one more butterfly.
The butterfly was the Tenacity Fudge 1v1 and the auto attack. Yeah. Oh my god.
That was it.
Well, now I'm very flustered by the point you were just making because I can't refute it. As much as I want to say if ifs and buts were candy and nuts or whatever the whole thing is.
That saying from 1934 that stuck around.
Yeah, sorry. Let me time travel really quick and figure out what that saying was. But it's a kind of compelling case. But the problem with it is, for me, is the manner of the losses that have come over the past 2 weeks, because it's just gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. Like
I attribute that complete mental degradation to the fact that these moments have just gone against us. I'm not offering this as an excuse. I just think it's one of those things. It's too easy. We're too quick to write that off and just say, these guys are robots who move effortlessly from one, you know, gut-wrenching defeat to the next game, ready
Yeah.
to shake it off and pretend that it didn't happen. But like, man, I would lose sleep over that. I would lose sleep over that stuff. Absolutely. It would be in my head. And it feels like we've kind of lost our sense
Yeah.
of who we are. Like, I'm sure they're doubting themselves more than they would have in the past. Maybe that's why we had to retire the tenacity solo kill counter.
Unfortunately. Look,
I know. I
so
love that thing.
you've provided us with much food for thought. I will say, obviously the org felt enough like those losses wouldn't have, changed things had they gone the other way, because here we are with a new coach.
Mhm.
Unless they just did it entirely to placate fans and the players. I don't know. We're never going to know that. But I do have a very off-topic tangent that I just noticed as I'm looking back through our win-loss record. And I just want to know if anyone else has noticed this just really quick. Leaguepedia, which I often have up while we're doing this, they don't seem to update the game results in a timely manner when we're winning. Most weeks, it's like, oh, they don't have the last like 2 weeks of games. They somehow are right on top of it when we're losing, man. What's up with that? Has anyone else noticed that? That's a little goofy. Anyway, yeah, I think at this point, we have to take an even bigger leap of faith into trusting what's going on with the team. Because as you mentioned, zero information, which they don't owe us in the first place, guys. Like, don't misconstrue that. They don't owe us that information. It's fun and nice to have, but it's not owed to us. So we don't have it. So we're going to have to trust them that this is the, better move in the current predicament we're in. Now, I want to reiterate that 100 Team Management has rebuilt multiple esports teams from very bad positions that should have been okay into, championship level teams in multiple esports, right? So, we owe it to them to have some faith in that. But yeah, I think like this is clearly, it just feels bad and feels wrong. So we'll have to see what happens. Let's we have an enormous list of listener takes. Some of
Thanks everybody.
When I was first doing this, I was probably like, hey, let's just weave these in as we go, but it's just impossible. It breaks up the flow of the conversation, right? So we may be a little quicker with these than usual, but we'll do our best. I did pull this one from our old friend Yurt in our Discord.
Yurt.
He said the lack of content the org releases when they are losing makes it impossible to relate to the team or see why they are failing. Also, they are less likely to stream when losing. So is that strategy out the window? Mm-hmm. Let's say they start winning and make playoffs. We will not get to see the process it took to get there. And I hate their content strategy. This was something I think you specifically brought up when we got that response from our interview with Jungle Juice, where he was talking about the content strategy. They were going to rely a lot on the players to put out content. And I think you brought up, well, what if we're not winning? And now we have our answer, right? It's not fun to make content when you suck. No. And we have sucked for the past couple of weeks. So not fun to make the content. It's not happening. It's not out. So, but I agree that it's hard to relate to the team right now because like you've got no emotional reference point. You've got no reference point to what their day-to-day is right now. And then, we're not getting that window into things otherwise, like Double If reviewing the weekend again, because they are too depressed to do it. So.
Yeah.
Oh, this is not going super well on the content side. So Yer says, I hate their content strategy, and I can't say I blame him.
It's hard to refute someone not being enthusiastic about this. I know we said we kind of go through these quick, but I just feel like on this one, for the last, it's kind of crazy, right? But like, Double Lift has even just stopped posting that much, which I think actually says a lot.
He's not
right?
talking. Yeah, because he'll
He's
like
just
meme his own bad performances, right?
yeah. Uh, he'll meme his own bad performances, but like his content channel is still his. Like it's still his
Mm-hmm.
business, right? Like this
Yeah.
is Double Lift Inc. And the fact that it's just not really going very much, I think says basically all you need to know. Let alone content about his professional, outing. He doesn't want to do content, period. He's not putting stuff up on YouTube. It's been just a couple in the last 3 weeks.
Well, there might be a reason for this. Actually, now I'm looking at his Twitter. He said on February 25th, "My house is completely flooded, and it's probably the most stressful few days of my entire life. Crazy how life
Oh,
sometimes can be a living nightmare. Very grateful for Lena and our cat Loki." Right. So, all right,
that's
maybe
horrible.
there's an explanation for him not doing
Yeah.
content if his place flooded.
I mean, I hope that it's one, I hope that that's been resolved now because that's terrible. But two, I also hope that it's like he can continue to keep his channel going because I know that's, like I think it's important for players to have that
Mhm.
as a way to sustain themselves and make a living too. So
Yep.
you hate to see it kind of dry up, but that's what it feels like at least. Is that the team based content? The last couple have been more just league content, not team content.
Yeah. He also tweeted after the last loss, "Sad results, need to fix our early game to even have a chance of playing." So,
Hmm.
you know, um, there is certainly work to be done, but that's very like can't even get past the first stage of the game in a good condition and,
Yeah.
failure to launch, right? Um, Tatted Sparrow says there's always more underlying issues when a coach gets fired. Coaches are scapegoated all the time. A rookie top laner looks lost most of the time. An all-star jungler looks like a shell for his normal self. Did not help in Kaas's favor. So valid. I think we talked about the scapegoating factor. Um,
Hmm.
I don't. It's always going to be a blend of different factors and whatever. We can't make any sweeping pronouncements, but I mean, this is a good point. Like, yeah, like the players don't look the way we expected them to, and how much of that is down to the coaching, how much of that is down to other factors. It's impossible to suss out, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think you could also say if you're a coach of this team in this situation, job one is to make sure that your rookie top laner isn't lost. Like they don't have to pop off, they don't have to go crazy, but let's just make sure that they understand what the plan is, how we're going to play this game, all that kind of stuff. So I think you can look at it in multiple ways for sure.
Glennie Taylor raised the question: how much of this is coaching though versus we need to do something different? And I think what he's getting at is like sometimes it's like I don't know what we got to change, but we got to change something.
Mhm.
And I think that's what he's positing here. Um, do we have a sense that like this is an intentional assessment of here's what's wrong, let's fix it? Or is this just
Yeah.
like we got to do something to appease people or throw something at the wall and see what sticks, right?
Yep. Um, I think here's what I think this is. I think they genuinely believe they can still make playoffs. You know, we're not in Dignitas's position where it's like we have to win out and everyone else has to lose out somehow. Mathematically, I'm not sure that works, but like it's not there yet. Um, so I think there's still a chance to do something. The version you brought up, I think, is the one that feels the most feasible to me, which is if you can tell that this coach just isn't going to be able to work with these players, then I don't think you're risking a lot by moving on,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like if you're watching the team
Very well
work
said.
together and it just isn't clicking, then that probably won't change in another 6, 8, 10 weeks.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. Um, Catman said, "Do you believe this changes anything? All pros do is say coaches are pointless. I am not hopeful much changes. I don't know. It just all feels doomed. I don't know how a coaching change will impact this team when they can't even get out of the early game with two pros who have more LCS rings than the rest of the league combined." So a good counter, right? It's like if you
Mhm.
guys can't get out of laning phase in a reasonable position, then what coaching are you even going to do? Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about the CLG game, right?
Yeah.
Caitlin Lux versus Akali. Who was the other lane matchup there? Akali, or no,
Caitlin
sorry,
Lux versus Callista
Callista.
and
Was it
Varus.
Callista Varus? Okay, that's
Very
oppressive.
oppressive in the right hands, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I think you have to ask those questions too, right?
Mm.
Like, hey, the coach can do everything he wants, but if you guys get killed 4 times in 3 minutes, like there is no plan that
Yeah.
weathers that
I
happening.
and you're not exaggerating there. I believe it was like 3 minutes and 50 seconds into the game when Luger got his 4th kill on Callista. So,
Gosh.
woo. um,
Yeah.
yeah, Militime, by the way, in chat, bringing up a tweet from Kaas that we've talked about this on previous episodes. This was like, I think 2 weeks before this. He said during our Super Week 03, he said 03 is a failure, but when players say we don't know what to do during the game, I know I failed on a personal coach level as a reflection. So yes, that's, you know, that's definitely that's definitely a coaching thing. So there is that. I do think there is something to what Catman says when he's like, players don't universally love coaches, you know, especially the right coach or the wrong coach, I should say. I don't know. I always believed in the value of coaches and processes and stuff like that. Players have really big egos by and by. They're basically required to be good at what they do. So it's, you know, I especially like, I just always think about the early days when it's like you're, you know, season 2. It's like you have a coach. The game, how long has the game been around? Like, are you going to tell me how to do my job? But, you know, even LeBron has a coach, right?
Look, I think there's an interesting thing here though, which is you need a coach. If maybe it's not an offensive coordinator who's drawing up plays, for you to run, like, okay, when this happens, we're going to do this. But you might need, I think you do need somebody, not might. You do need somebody who can say, this is how you want to play the game. This is how you want to play the game. In this case, your double lift, your Bjergsen, for example. This is how we're going to play the game, right? This is it. Everybody play this way. Like, you have to have somebody there who can break ties. And I think that's even more important when you have a lot of voices in the room, not when you don't have a clear vision of how to play the game. Like, I think they can both be destructive. So to me, it feels like you basically just need a manager, right? Like, in the very real sense of somebody has to tell these people what they're going to do when they're not playing the game and like how they're going to practice and improve. Because if not, it's less likely that you can work it all out.
And perfect time for Sen to interject this in chat. Sounds like Chimera, who was in the org for 5 years, right? He was the head analyst for 100T, who departed, you know, over the break before spring split. So maybe that's something too. Maybe that's something.
Totally could be.
Zella says, to be fair, Bjergsen said in an interview something along the lines of, we don't know how to play these comps, and then we picked very similar comps for 3 more weeks. So that's what I was talking about. Someone told me that like Nukeduck is more responsible for drafts than Kaas. I don't know if that's to be believed or not. Maybe I shouldn't be like just repeating that on the pod without knowing that. Maybe chat can weigh in and kind of clear that up. But that is a good point. We did draft some pretty similar things. I think like the CLG game was enough of a different look that I liked, but that's a point. The Live Evil Pod said something that I copied and pasted the wrong thing into.
I was gonna say,
hold please.
Either he was memeing and he said the exact same thing, or
yeah. No, he said if 100T beats Fly and or EG but still miss playoffs, are you guys more hopeful for summer or still consider changes need to be made? I mean, definitionally, I don't think like this can really happen, right? They beat FlyQuest and EG and miss playoffs. But missing playoffs is a pretty bad time.
Yeah, I mean,
I kind of want to
again, going
change if we're
back,
missing playoffs. I kind of want
I
to
agree.
change, even if
Going
it's
back to
spring.
power rankings, it's like that is just below any measure of what we would consider to have been a successful split at the start of this thing.
Yeah,
Even knowing now that it's 6 and not 8,
right.
like we talked about being a top half team. If you're cut off at 6, you're 7th. You're on the bottom part of the table looking up. It's not a good place to be.
No, it's not. JC, by the way, coming through in chat saying in a Shynock interview, Nukeduck said he did nearly all the drafting. So draft changes, maybe not so much. We shall see. Arc Boy said, does the problem for 100T seem to be player based or coach based or a bit of both? So player based, coach based, bit of both. We're going to say our answer at the same time in 3, 2, 1. Player based.
Bit of both.
Nice. The reason I think it's player based is the whole like we cannot even like escape out of early game with anything to build on for the most part. Occasionally we get out of there. A couple things go our way, but I identified very strongly with whoever it was that said like, you know, how if you can't get out of the early game, like you can't you can't succeed in any way.
Right.
Yeah, a bit of both. Sure. Cop out answer, Jordan. Explain your cop out answer.
I mean, I just literally think it is. I think all the stuff I've said about the coach, I think it's his job to find a way to get these players to play well together, and I don't think he has. And I think you can put plenty of focus on the players here because we've seen them make boneheaded mistakes that, you know, doesn't matter how much a coach kind of drills it into a team or if everybody is on the same page, if you just, you know, you make some of these mistakes and there's really nothing that anybody else can do about it. It's on the player.
Yep. Let's see. Amax Legit said the real goal is summer, but missing playoffs in spring would be detrimental to the growth of our team. Thanks to the coaching change, we will finish out 3-2 and squeeze in as the 6th seed. So we got an actual take there. And bullish on the future results of this split. Looking at the schedule for the games we have ahead, we have Golden Guardians, Dignitas, TSM, EG, and Immortals. So we have what would be considered the soft opponents for the rest. So I don't think that this is an outrageous take. What about you?
Man, I don't know. I mean, yes, I fully agree. Missing playoffs in spring is detrimental to the growth of the team. That would be very bad. These situations are so valuable for player development. So 100% there. We will finish out 3-2. I'm not seeing it.
So you don't think we find 3 wins among those teams? Golden Guardians, Dignitas. Dignitas is a win, right? TSM.
If we play anything like we played last week, I'm not prepared to bet against us often. Like, look, there's a doomsday scenario here, Cole. We're getting into predictions now, but I won't go all the way. Golden Guardians is good. That's not an easy win. Again, much to my embarrassment. And if we lose to Team Dignitas, Cole.
Team Dignitas. I like calling them Team Dignitas.
I'm just reading their name. If we lose to them on Friday, March 10th, it's over. It's done. They are the worst team in the league. It's not close. And if we can steal that dishonorable crown from them, there are no playoffs ahead for us. It's not happening. And this, a team after a change like this is vulnerable.
Yeah.
There's absolutely a scenario where we haven't had a great week of practice.
But
I don't know, man.
Doesn't it seem like you get like this honeymoon buff where it like goes well for like 1 week and then
it can happen both ways. It can happen both ways. I mean, look, I remember fully we brought in Poom and just absolutely clapped Cloud9. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Played as Rakan, and he just smurfed all over Cloud9. It was beautiful. And he now and fast forward 2 years or whatever it is, and he's knocking us into our next roster change. So yeah, it totally can happen where you get that honeymoon period. I just don't know if we should count on it. So I'm gonna say no to the 3-2. I think there's too much that could go wrong.
Okay. Let's move on. I think we get a minimum of 2 wins, by the way. I think we go 2 and 3. Sammy Kaas said,
Okay, so my big take, you've just basically said that you're on the same page.
well, like I said, it's compelling. I was like, do you think we can find those wins? I don't know. Maybe Solo will throw us a bone there. Well, Sammy says, in football, aka soccer, because he's not from our wonderful place, there's a common saying that no player is bigger than the club. However, most of the time, the manager is always the scapegoat when a player is kicking off. He went on, by the way, I had never heard kicking off before. That is when a player is just like not doing well and they're like purposely causing drama behind the scenes and being negative to press and stuff like that. So, so he says, the manager's always a scapegoat when that is happening. Do we have a similar situation here with Bjergsen and Doublelift? Have they essentially driven Kaas out? I don't know, because they have not been publicly. It's at least not the same exact thing, right? They have not been publicly flaming Kaas. Kaas is the only one who publicly flamed Kaas, from what I've seen. So I don't think it's fully the same situation, and I don't think they're intentionally throwing either, because egos are big enough that I don't think they'd let that happen.
Yeah, it would be so drastic to throw the way that they are, which is like, I feel like usually when you see that, it's like somebody refusing to go to Baron, right? Like I'm gonna keep farming the jungle. Like it's on me.
Yeah.
Like hard losing your lane usually isn't the approach. I guess we could be wrong, but that would be something else.
Could be wrong. Yeah. JC101 says something insane must have happened behind the scenes to lose a coach on a Sunday just 2 weeks before the end of the split. Evil Bjergsen's plan to be our head coach 2024 confirmed. Well, I don't think it was that drastic behind the scenes. I think we just suck right now. So I'm going to disagree with this take also because Bjergsen sucking is not the path to being our head coach either. I mean, unless what he's saying is now that Kaas is out, Bjergsen strong arms Nukeduck takes over the coaching, saves us, and then becomes our coach. So I think maybe that's the angle from JC.
Yeah, I'm going to say something insane did happen in front of the scenes with those 2 games we played. That was insane enough for me.
Something was the scenes. The scenes were the games.
That's right.
Trust me. Squizmatic says
the scenes.
Were the scenes. Squizmatic says, I don't get why we didn't try to make a 2-time LEC champion coach work, but we promote a rookie coach who's in charge of our drafts, which have been sus. Guess my traditional sports background is showing where you build a team around the head coach, not the other way around. Some traditional sports, yeah. It's not as common nowadays to do that, to be honest, Squiz. Yeah. But there was merit, I think, to whoever was talking about how like the type of coach it is, and maybe the type of coach is a mismatch. That's kind of what I'm feeling in response to this.
For sure. And I think the reality of the LCS, or I guess just kind of the broader league ecosystem is it's so rare that you have a high degree of player choice, right? Like the talent pool just isn't that deep, where you can go and pick up like, oh, let's get a couple guys we think this fits the play style. It's like there are not a lot of players who weren't signed going into this split. So my sense is the way everything came together, the speed with which everything came together, all that crazy contract stuff that was being talked about. My sense is if you're a coach, you get what you get, and you hope that you can find a way to make it work. And I think in this case, we couldn't.
Who would have thought the New Radicals were wrong the whole time?
Dang it.
The song is not called You Get What You Get. Nox War says, while all of your remaining matches are important, TSM on day one of Super Week really sticks out to me. What match do you guys think is the most pivotal one out of 100T's next 5 matches? So
Dignitas.
And Dignitas is pivotal in that if we lose that one, it's all over.
Yeah. It's win or go home. Because if you lose that game, your brain will not be present in any of the remaining matches.
Let's see. That would be when do we play it? Okay, so that's Friday. That's this Friday. It's either that one or TSM. I like Nox's suggestion. I mean, beginning of Super Week, it's kind of like, I think we're penciling in EG as a loss right now. Immortals is the cleanup on 3. So maybe actually you're right, Jordan, because the TSM game is kind of the only one that would matter on the Super Week if we think that we're going to lose to EG and beat Immortals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There might be something to that.
Yeah. I mean, if you lose Dignitas, you have to sweep Super Week. Feels like a lot to ask.
Oh, gosh. I'm starting to get nervous now. Nick Moore said, hot take, 100T got it right. This was a coaching problem, and we will go on a run from here on out with Nukeduck and presumably Bjergsen and Double Lift in control. 3 cooks in the kitchen instead of 1.
I think that's too many cooks.
That's why it's a hot take.
You gotta pick one, perhaps 2.
It's not the craziest take though, right? I mean, look, we don't know. Maybe Kaas was the problem. Maybe it was. You just don't know. Yeah. You just don't know. I don't think that's going to happen, but
I don't either. I hope it's the case. I hope that we look like we did at the start of the split because I liked watching that team. Yeah. I would love that.
Mm-hmm. Be a nice little throwback.
Yeah.
Let's do Throwback Thursday coming up. Thanks, Golden Guardians. Max Holiday says, if we ran it back from 2022 with the coaching and roster unchanged, what would our current record be? I like this because it's not like, do you think we should have kept the roster? It's like, what would the record be against this league? So I don't think we're better than C9 with that roster still. They were obviously not better than FlyQuest. I think we probably could have taken that EG game early.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm thinking we're sitting around like 3 or 4 losses if we have that same roster.
Probably.
Maybe we could have withstood some other challenges. Sure, I mean, we're not losing Team Liquid in either case, as we now know. I think we probably beat CLG. So, yeah, I think we have a significantly improved roster. And, I mean, not like that was possible, right? All indications are that was not a possibility. So, you know. But it is a fun little experiment.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Andres Day said, hot take, they should have promoted Golden Glue and Dan instead of acquiring Kaas and Nukeduck. So this is rewinding back to the offseason. Since Golden Glue and Dan already had experience working with Busio and Tenacity. So hindsight's 2020, obviously. But, maybe things would have gone better in that situation. Who is Golden Glue a better personality manager than Kaas? We would have to see. It's a very interesting question. More interesting than it should be, and more interesting than it would have been if you asked it before this split got started.
Yeah. Where is he now?
Where is who?
Golden Glue.
Golden Glue is vibing. Where is he? Is he still? No, he is. I swear he was coaching some Challengers team. I swear he was coaching some Challengers.
Took a break from League.
Okay.
Took a break from League.
Just hitting the gym hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought he had a Challengers team he was coaching. Anyway, RIP. Miss you, dude.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really interesting question. I think you still run into the potential pitfall of knowing tenacity and Busio is one thing. Can you coach Bjerg, Doublelift, and Closer?
Yeah.
Hard to say that it would have gone much worse.
BC said Kaas got strawmanned, which was a joke to Doublelift's tweet where he misused the term strawman. The removal of him signals a change in direction from a rebuild to we are going to make changes to be contender for summer. I think we agree with the fact that it's like we care about it. We're trying to fix it. We're not rolling over. So I think we agree with that for the most part. Contender is a strong word. Contender is a very strong word at this time.
Unfortunately, yes.
Sen, if he's still awake right now, said spring is obviously not looking good. Interested to see how the coaching change helps. However, I suspect there will be a change to the team during MSI time, like we've done in the past when Abadaga was brought in. Jordan, do you think we're going to see a roster change before summer?
I mean, it's a question for me of when do you have to lock your MSI roster? Because we'll need to have that submitted to Riot so that we can
win MSI.
Yeah, I'm not sure I get this take. No, I think it still does depend a bit if we like what we're seeing, if we're trending in the right direction, if we can play this game, then maybe we don't change. But if not, yeah, I think it's likely.
Yeah. I think I kind of am leaning in that direction too. I don't know where it will be, but it's hard for me to imagine we're not going to make a roster change. Do you want, if we do make a roster change, do you want Tenacity and Busio to stay put, or do you want to demote one of them, both of them? What do you think?
I mean, I still believe long term.
Mm.
Again, like look at Luger and Poom, right? That's kind of the tragedy of this whole thing. Those guys have gotten very good. They badly beat us last time around. And it's because CLG didn't pull them after they had a rough 4-game stretch, right? And I'm exaggerating, but like you have to just give people time to actually develop at this game. So I hope we keep them around.
Me too. I just don't want to abandon the plan in it. That's what that feels like. Carlsky01, we have 2 more left, by the way. Carlsky01 says, if the team continues to struggle and Sniper's health issues are long term, I don't know if you knew that, Jordan, but
I saw that.
Okay, yeah, you saw Sniper stepping away. I could see Tenacity being set down to challengers. Oh, this is quite appropriate. Oh. I could see Tenacity being set down to challengers for summer split and a more veteran top laner being brought in. 100T solo. Maybe someone like Hanser who has had success with Bjergsen and Doublelift before. I do not want to see Hanser back. I think that's
it just feels
no
like
flame to Hanser, but yeah, it's just like that hasn't worked. That hasn't worked for a while.
I mean, look, I'm willing to give. Like, I believe that Bjergsen and Doublelift can still play at the level needed to like crack the top 3. There are a lot of players, veteran players, who I just don't think that's the case. Although, you know what? Stixay is proving us all wrong. So who am I to say anything at this point? I wrote off Stixay's career sometime in the past, and here he is.
And I wrote off solos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no one knows anything. I think that's what we've learned. No one knows anything.
That's it. Yep, that's clear.
And one more. Zach Remsburg says, I think clearly this team needed some kind of a shakeup. Although I feel bad for Kaas. Head coaches always seem to be scapegoated whenever things aren't going right. Seems like this team really only had one way to win, which was scaling and playing safe, which may have worked in the LCS of prior seasons, but the LCS has improved enough. It doesn't really seem viable anymore. I agree. There was a shakeup needed based on the trajectory of the team and based on the fact that we were pigeonholed into playing a game one way. Totally agree.
I think I agree with this. And I think we can say now, we were solved. People disrupted us. They did not let us scale. And our fortunes turned drastically.
It was a nice couple of weeks.
It was fun when it lasted.
It wasn't even that good. But anyway, that leaves us with predictions for next week. Before we get the honk out of here, as we mentioned, we play Golden Guardians this Thursday, Jordan, in just 3 days. Golden Guardians, who are in fourth at 8-5. They've won, what is it, 7 of their last 8 or something? 8 of their last 9?
100 of their last 102.
Something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
So they're in fourth place, 8-5, 1-1. They lost to Team Liquid though, but beat Immortals.
The worst team in the league. How'd they lose to the Team Liquid? No, we don't beat Golden Guardians.
Yeah. So the only thing about this is, I think, like, I don't know. Even though Golden Guardians has looked good, I don't fully believe in it long term. Like, I don't think it's gonna last with him, but I have nothing other than my like gut and experience.
Are we the ones to stop it? Do we end their hot run?
The Liquid beat him this past weekend, but I mean, I just don't really see it. They lost their first game of Liquid too, by the way. But yeah, Gory and River are very good. They're definitely getting more out of that pairing than we are getting with our mid jungle pairing.
Yeah, it seems they have a mid jungle diff.
Well, maybe they used up their slip up on TL then. So I'll go ahead and predict the loss then.
Okay.
Then we have Dignitas, the all important pivotal game. Somehow, our season rides on beating 10th place Dignitas on Friday. They've won 1 out of their 13 games this year. They lost to Immortals even this past weekend. Jordan, what happens?
Cole, if I predict a loss to Team Dignitas to completely ruin our season, let's be honest, I think I have to hang up my hat. We can't lose to them. We don't lose to them. I'm predicting a win because I believe that we still have a League of Legends team. Let's see if it's true.
I think we cannot allow ourselves to stoop that low. We've got a little more pride than that. I think we do pull out the Dignitas dub. 1-1 weekend under Nukeduck incoming. Undertalk says yes. Unfortunately, we haven't covered our bases to make sure that we get it right. But
look, if we lose to Dignitas, I don't even know. I mean, it will be potentially like a low point for the program. Honestly, be honest,
it will be a catastrophic loss at a catastrophic time.
Yep. Stay tuned to find out what
happens.
But
we don't think it's gonna happen.
No, I predicted a win. We
don't think it's gonna happen. Positivity. Back to the 100 Talk brand, right? Everything is gonna be fine. We don't need to panic. Let's give it time to work itself out, right?
Yep. Face Nasty calling out.
Sure hope
so. Papa's
Papa got it.
He's having a different conversation right now.
Oh man. Well, congrats to you, Papa Smithy.
Yep.
Good dude. Well, things could get really dark here if we're wrong.
We'll see.
Can't they?
I hope that we're not wrong, Cole. As always.
We have faith that we're not wrong.
I believe in myself.
We've got faith in our 5 years of expertise doing this. That things are going to be A-okay. It's going to be one way or the other. There's going to be no middle ground, right? We're going to be fixed or we're going to implode.
Or actually, the one way that we can go into our super week knowing absolutely nothing, beat Golden Guardians, lose to Dignitas. Who knows at that point? Who even knows?
I don't even want to think about it. Let's just skip the pod next week.
Seriously, if that happens, we're going to have to think about what we do. What does this mean for fans in general?
Well, everybody, sorry this got a little gloom and doom. It's not usually our style. But things are a little bit rough out there.
Look, I was feeling less gloomy and doomy before somebody pointed out that it's only top 6 now. I thought we were still in the participation trophy era of the LCS. So it's rough out here. Like
it is rough.
it's you got to go now. Yeah. So hey, just call it like we see it, man. This is a big week for us. This is a really big week for the program. Things got to happen right now.
Shout out Mokushona said, just some rough pumpkins right now. That's all it is. Just some rough pumpkins. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not usually so dark about it, but it's just, it's tough times right now, tough scenes. But we'll still be around. To everybody, like, I don't know what's going on. We've gotten a huge number of new followers in the stream. We've got like 50 new followers. So if you are new watching us, please join our Discord. I put the link in the chat. You can follow us on Twitter as well. I'll put that in the chat, and keep up with us there. Thank you for being here. We hope you enjoyed this episode, even though it was a little bit of a downer. We look forward to bringing you more happy, bright entertainment based around 100 Thieves in the near future. Isn't that right? Just next week. We'll be celebrating
next week
the dramatic turnaround of the program.
Can't wait.
So
party poppers.
Yeah.
I'll bring them.
Until then, we will say, like we always do at this time, we love you and we miss you already.